Okay, hello folks. I hope you can see me. And I'm your host, Mohammed Shahir Al Musakimeto. So this is one of our agents, one of our sessions for the ML Summer School. And today we have a special guest with us. He's an actually AWS ML hero. So I want to introduce him. He will basically tell about himself, and will let you know like what this is and our the important factor is today we have a special session on Strands Agents. So yeah, earlier you have learned about the agents, right? You have learned about much more about how AI progressed from starting from decision trees to now LLMs and so on. So it will be very much very much useful for you today, I believe. So without any further ado, let's invite our guest to the screen. Hello, Vivek. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well, and thanks for
Yeah.
having me here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Would you please like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Vivek Raja. I'm from India. My day job is that I'm a VP of product. So at a startup called Nextem. So what we do at
Mhm.
Nextem is we build brain-computer interfacing. So it's like we could actually read your brain, sort of a thing. But on the jokes apart, it's like we are building hardware and software technologies that could help to read biosignals and analyze that, similar to what
Mhm.
Neuralink is building, but it's more like on the non-invasive side. So that's my day job.
Mhm.
What I do after that is I talk a lot about machine learning in terms of blogs, sessions, and everything. I'm also running
Mhm.
a user group called AWS User Group Madurai, which is in the south of Tamil Nadu of India. And I've been machine learning hero since 2021. And it's been so at the time I was the youngest machine learning hero as well as a hero around the world. And it's been
Mhm.
a fantastic journey so far. Yeah.
Yeah, so exciting about the journey. Okay, so let's then start the session, right?
Great. Awesome. So today's session, we are going to deal with a lot of beginner level concepts, but I'm also going to show you some amazing capabilities of what these generative AI is about, and especially what we are talking about is the agents. So with that being said, I would start with so we have been talking, there is a lot of buzzwords around the world, like we have generative AI, we have large language models, we have MCPs, we have agents. There's a lot of things that is going on there. So let's pause for a second and then step back. So I can guarantee you everyone who is present in the session or going to view this video later is that if you're going to start from the beginning of today's session towards the topics that we're going to cover today, I think you will be able to confidently go ahead and say that, hey, I know what is generative AI, I know what is LLMs, I know what is agents, I surely know what is the capabilities of agents, and I could surely code you one agent as well. So that is going to be our objective for today's session. It's simple, but it's super powerful. So let's get started. So
Great.
when people come and say that, hey, so we have been evolving from machine learning as Mitul started with saying that, hey, we started with decision trees and evolved all the way to LLMs. Now let's just take a step back and see what is an LLM. Right? It is a simple natural language processing model. Right? So natural language processing has been with us for decades, and what really made this significant step in this journey is that we were able to churn huge corpus of data. When I say huge, I mean we are able to churn the entire internet corpus of data and tell that, hey, here, this is an NLP model. You can now learn all this stuff, and I'll be able to talk to you about all this, everything. And that what it made a significant jump in terms of this NLP journey. What I'm right now saying is not really technically correct, but I think you'll be able to relate to what is it about. So how this large language model came into the picture is that people were able to develop an algorithm that could feed an entire internet corpus of data, And not just about answering about the questions or doing everything, it could also generate new concepts from that. So sounds interesting, right? So that's the whole the that's a huge new feature that we are seeing in this NLP models, and that's what we call them as these large language models. So if someone asks like, does there a small language model existing? Yes, there is. So the only difference there is that the number of parameters of what is an algorithm is, it just differs, and the capabilities of how accurate it could answer is just going to differ. So that's a whole difference between a small language model and a large language model. And now you may ask like, where should I really use it? Everyone right now has been using large language model every single day on some or other basis, right? So maybe you are writing a document, you want to summarize that, or you wanted to write yourself a LinkedIn post and you do not want to write it by yourself. We have all this creative aid tools and so on. But not just that, you don't really have only the creative aid tools. It has evolved in such a way that it is right now also code assistive productivity tool as well. So if you are a developer and you are using one of the IDEs such as VS Code, Kiro, you have already the AI assistants ready for you to help you code, debug, and test and whatnot. And that gave birth to a new concept called vibe coding. And I think pretty much everyone here have been vibe coding for a while, and hope so it's going pretty great. So that's what the capabilities of large language model is. So you get to interact and so on. So let's simply see a simple a concept that how does an LLM really work. So today I'm going to not going to show you any presentation screens, nothing like that. It's going to be purely talk. But with this, if you follow me through this talk, you'll be able to imagine what's happening behind the scenes, and that's all you really require for today's session. Nothing else more, right? So now let's talk about how does this LLM really work. So the LLM is that, so when you give a huge corpus of text, so your machine learning models or anything else cannot comprehend text data. So how does it really understand text data? So it's going to convert that text data into something that it could comprehend into. So as we all know that what does a machine learning model can comprehend? It's numbers. So the first step is to actually churn and create some conversion of this text into some numerical format, which we call it as vectors. So the first step is that it passes down to through a model called embedding model, and it generates a huge corpus of this your vectors. And that's on how this LLM models or algorithms are trained on, and you get LLM models out of it. And now when you actually go ahead and query something, like let's assume I'm going to a chat GPT or Claude model and saying that, hey, what is AWS? If I ask something around it, what really happens behind the scenes is that it takes those string, what is AWS, puts it through this embedding model, and it creates a vectorization. Now, does it enough for your LLM model to answer? But what really happens behind the scenes? Behind the scenes, it goes and check the semantic relevance. So what I mean by semantic relevance is that how much of a query, the tokens that you see here, or the conversion, the vectors that you see here, how relevant it is to the existing vectors that it has already learned. So it's going to compare, and it's going to fetch the relevancy, and it's going to generate the answer for it. And while you again, and you're not going to read any numbers, right? So it needs to again convert those numbers back into what? To string. So it again goes through those models, converts those numerical vectors into string, and that's what you see on the screen. So next time when you go ahead and chat with a chat GPT or a Claude model or whatever LLM that you see, this is what exactly happens. And is it not astonishing to see that it all happens in a fraction of a second? And thanks to the infrastructure and the compute that is at our disposal nowadays, that you could do whatever you want. Great. So that is what an LLM is. And that, I think right now, if someone comes to you and asks like, hey, what is an LLM? I think you would be in a great position to answer like, hey, I know what is an LLM, and I pretty sure know how that works internally, right? So if you want to know more about how an LLM works, just Google it around and you will be able to explore some amazing concepts underneath, which is going to be deep dive into how this vectorization happens, how this comparison happens, and lots around that. Okay. Now let's try a simple test. So if someone is having a ChatGPT tab open, right? Just go ahead and write, ask like, what is today's time? Or we could experiment it today as well. Okay, let's try it out today as well. So I'm going to ask my LLM asking like, hey, what is my time? And what is really going to happen here is that it's going to throw you some random date, if you really see. And any guesses why that happens? uh, it's pretty simple. So the data has been already churned and learned long back, and it does not have the relevancy or information about what's happening right at the moment, right? So it needs to go and fetch some calendar data to figure out what today's date is. So which is not the capabilities of LLM. So if I say what is a capability, not I mean like what is a disadvantage or the limitations, that's a perfect word. What's the limitation of an LLM that I do with is like when I go ahead and ask about something which is of the current state, it cannot really answer accurate to the things that you have. And second thing is, I think most of you would have noticed this famous line that has been always written in anywhere. So it's ChatGPT or Claude or wherever that you have been using. It's like, this is can make mistakes, and it is the you have to be very diligent to enough to figure out that it is what is correct and not, and where you are going to use it. So what does it really mean behind that is that, so we have been saying on the generative AI part, so we are able to give a question or a prompt. Prompt is the right word to use here. So when you give some prompt, it fetches and gives some answers or some response to it. But when you always say that these responses are not accurate to what it really means, so what really happens behind the scene is that it hallucinates, which we call it as hallucination. So that is a severe limitation of an LLM. It can throw out some random stuff which is not really the right or the correct one. So this is something that you have to be careful. So as we say that LLM is really great one, it is so powerful, it does come with limitations, and it's always wise to know that how you can handle these limitations. So today we are also going to tackle one thing, okay, which is going to eliminate the first limitation, which is, can LLM do something for me at the moment? So that is something we are going to get rid of that limitation today. Okay, so with that being said, we have a wonderful explanation around what is an LLM, what it does, how it works, and what is how you need to use it, and we know what the limitations are. Now, with that being said, we are really ready to learn something new, which is called agents. So many have been saying around it's agent everywhere. But if you want to really understand, let's forget everything and just let's just start with a little bit of a story. Let's assume that there is a person and the person has all the powers in the world, but he is limited to sit inside a home and is not allowed to leave the home. Okay, so what he really does is that, so he calls his helpers in his home. This is all a hypothetical analogy that you can just think of. So there's a very powerful man who has all the intelligence in the world, but the thing is he cannot walk outside the house. Okay, so let's assume that if someone comes with a question or something, hey, do you know how to solve this physics equation? He can really tell you whatever that you want. But if you go ahead and ask the person, hey, do you know that what is the best time to book a flight right now for me if I want to fly from India to Seattle? The person doesn't know that. So the person is not really up to the touch with the current affairs, or he cannot really do stuff, right? So what he has is that he has a lot of helpers in his house for different purposes. So one person goes out for him and then books a ticket for him if he needs to do something. One person goes and finds time for him. One person does calculation for him. One person goes and does something, and he hires a new person for him if he really wants to find what is the best time to book a flight. Okay, so he goes and searches the web and then does it. So he has some helpers and to do some specific task which he is not capable to do. But once he gets the responses from these helpers, he is able to make the perfect decision, and that solves all your queries. And as a person who came with the query, do I really know who are his helpers? From the outside, I would never know it, but he always have some helpers beside himself. So uh, with that being said, if we just transfer this analogy to whatever we are learning today, so the powerful, intelligent man that we're seeing here is the LLM, and the person who could help him with some external access of data, information, or access is what this helpers are is going to be the agents. So this is just an analogy, but when we are going to learn about the concept of agent, this might be slightly tricky. But now you know the limitation that LLM itself is not powerful because it does not have accesses to a lot of things which he needs intermediate information of. Okay, that's something we need to learn about. Now let's learn about what is an agent. An agent is nothing but it's a powerful mechanism which has capabilities of lot of things, and it uses the power of LLM to answer something. Okay, now let's break this down and see what it is really capable of. An agent has some functionality which is associated to it. Let's assume that I'm going to create an agent which is going to send me a summary of all my work meetings every single day. So what this agent needs to do, it needs to go and read the transcripts of every single thing. So the first thing is needs to fetch all the transcripts. That's a task one. The task two is to put together into a simple text. Third one is to call this LLM to summarize it for me, and then it's going to return me the answer. So now when I go to this agent and say that, hey, summarize all my meetings today, it can do it for you. When I say that, hey, what is the three main action items that I need to perform for the marketing team, if I say that, the agent, what it does, it goes and collects the transcripts, goes to the LLM and says that, hey, this is a transcript, but the user is asking that the action points for marketing team. So it goes and collects only the marketing team meeting information, and then it gives to the agent. So it gives to the LLM summarizes the action points, and I get the answer. So now if we break this down, there is a functionality which is associated with an agent, which we call as the system prompt. So the system prompt is the action that you, or the context that you set to the agent what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, and it uses the power of LLM to do something. So if we technically take back the oldest analogy, you don't really directly interact with the intelligent person. You interact with a helper specific to it. So let's assume that I'm going to this agent and saying that, hey, I need to, there is a person in the reception and saying that I need to book a ticket, and you have to find me the best pricing for it. That person which I'm asking to is the agent. Let's assume that is a ticket booking agent that we can call. Then it goes and uses its capabilities to fetch information about the flight details, the cost, the range of flight cost over the period of time, and then it takes all the information back to the intelligent person and say that, hey, this is all I know. Now you answer the query for him, and it gets you all the answers for you, and then goes and gives it back. Now this is how actually it works. That's how the agent really works. Now let's break it down and see what is the components of an agent is. Okay. So before we go into that, why can't we just look? Okay, let's see the components of an agent, and then let's jump into creating an agent for ourselves, and we will explore a lot of capabilities of what it really does. Okay. So an agent has system prompt, which is about uh, what is the what is it really meant to be doing. Okay, and it has a LLM model underneath. So the agent is going to interact with an LLM model to give that information and call it. So an LLM model is always bound to an agent. Okay, and today I was talking when we were talking about this. Uh, the capabilities of an agent, right? Like it needs to go, like for example, for the flight booking agent that we were talking about, it needs to go and find all the information about the the flight details, and then it needs to find about the range of cost of, so it needs to hit an API and everything. So the agent needs some capabilities to do something, and that's what we call it as tools. So agent has a lot of tools with it, and each tool is something what you define about. Like for example, a tool could be HTTP request, a tool could be summarizing, a tool could be organizing, sorting, or something like that. But again, it the tool's functionality is to fetch, access, and do something, and altogether it's going to interact with the LLM to see that which tool to use when and how to use it. So let's assume that the ticket booking agent has like find flight details, find flight timings, find flight cost, and so on. So what this agent will do is that when we have the query which we are going to give, the LLM is going to take the query, which is the prompt, I mean, and it's going to see that, hey, I have the agent and it is the capabilities of all these tools I have. Now, what should I call first? This LLM orchestrates that, okay, I have the capabilities of calling what all flight availabilities we have. So it goes and invokes those tools that is available with this agent, and then fetches all the information. It can ping particular to multiple times until the LLM feels that it has all the information to answer back to the prompt. Okay, so that is how an agent works. So agent typically has a couple of components, which is your system prompt, what is the role of that agent is about. It has a model associated with this an LLM model. It could be a Claude, it could be GPT OSS 120B, it could be anything that you see about. And then it has something called tools, which is the capabilities of that agent, which the LLM could leverage on top of that. Okay, so now when I say that, we are going to talk about how are we going to take away the limitation of the LLM, which is accessing current information, accessing tools, accessing data, accessing external APIs. This agents are going to solve it for you, right? So now if we have summarized what is an agent is about, so I think I'm pretty sure that we were able to hear agent all the time, but we know now we know that what is the components of an agent and how that interacts with the LLM, right? So we know it. So this is all you really require to know what is an LLM, what is an agent. Now you could yourself call yourself that, hey, I know what is an agent. But now let's go into how to uh, develop your first agent. Okay, and then we are going to see about how to uh, work on enhancing the capabilities of the agent. Okay, so today we are going to just talk about single agents. There is a lot of other stuff as well, so we have multi agents and more and so on, but let's not worry about it. Okay, so to build an agent, we already know that if you could just see over here, we could see that the agent has a lot of capabilities, which is models, tools, system prompts, conversation manager, and session manager. So you can, for now, for the simplicity aspect, you can just ignore what is those messages, session handling, and everything. But you guys have been already aware of it. So if you know, if you chat with ChatGPT, it knows the memory aspect of that, and it knows to maintain the session, right? So because if you're chatting something, you don't want the LLM or the agent to lose the context, right? So to maintain the context of that particular chat is called a session. That is what really happens behind the scenes. So we know everything. We have been using it day to day. We just didn't know how that works, or we didn't know the exact terminologies. So that's what was actually difference between knowing and not knowing. So today we will start with a very simple agent. But Vivek, you might ask like, hey Vivek, I now totally understand what is an LLM. I know what is an agent. I know how the agent works. I know what is the agent's capabilities. But how do I really create an agent? I really don't know how to create an agent, because that's where people get stuck. We know the concepts, but we do not know how to start with it. So there is an amazing SDK, an open source SDK called Strands Agents, which helps you to build agents without heavy lifting a lot of things for you, but it has a lot of powerful features. Okay. So it's as simple as installing your Strands agents and then Agents tools. So we now know what is the tool is about, right? So everyone is aware of it, and we are going to start using that. So first we are going to, it's just 3 lines, right? It's just completely 3 lines. And imagine that if you're able to create an agent with 3 lines of code, you're really able to do that. So here, what I'm saying is I'm going to import agent class from this library, and then I'm going to instantiate this class, and then I'm going to give a prompt. What really goes here is the prompt. Actually, it's a prompt that we are going to give. It's different from the system query. Okay. If I need to enhance the agent with more capabilities of it, that's when I give that, okay, this is the system prompt for you, you need to act like that. So if I define it, it's going to be there, or it's going to be a normal one. So this is the query which I'm going to give. The agent does not have any tools, it does not have any system prompt, it just have a model with it. So when it receives the query, it's going to give it to the LLM is going to answer it for me, and it's going to return it back. Simple as that. But this is an agent, right? So let's just run it. So I'm going to run Python agent.py, and I'm asking like what is AWS, and this is pinging your LLM behind it. And if you ask me like how do I have the access to the LLM, so it is a Bedrock model, and I'm using Claude model which is connected. So I already have my AWS credentials set up, and then by default, if you're not mentioning which model this needs to use, it by default uses Claude 3.7. So ensure that you have an AWS account and you have access, you have enabled the access of the Claude 3.7 model for this particular IAM user, and you have to use it. And most importantly, this is going to be the big disclaimer. I'm going to repeat it twice because I don't want anyone to lose any money over here. So it's that this modules that I'm going to discuss right now is going to incur cost. Okay. So be very beware of the cost that you're going to incur with this tutorial. Ensure you have model accesses, ensure you have the budget set up, and we are actually invoking LLMs here. So you're going to be charged for that. Okay. All right. So with 3 lines of code, we were able to create an agent. And by default, I have told you that by default, it uses a model called your Anthropic's Claude 3.7. I think so. It's still 3.7. I'm not sure if it uses 4 right now, but mostly it's going to be 3.7, I guess so. Right. And then we do not have any other capabilities of the agent right now. No tools, no. We don't have anything on the prompt, and we're not going to maintain anything on the sessions, nothing else. Today, we're not going to worry about sessions. We're just going to enhance the capabilities of agent with a single agent. Okay. So now let's go. So I told that this agent by default uses a Bedrock model class, and the Bedrock model class is going to use the Claude model, right? Now let's see how that's going to work. Okay, now let's review the second, the agent code. So what I'm going to do here is that we have Strands model called, and we are going to import Bedrock model. There are a lot of models that is available. So it's like uh, you have Bedrock model, you have Anthropic, you have Light LLM, you have a lot of models which is available. And based on the class that you invoke, you just have to give the right API keys for that. But for simplicity, we are just going to stick to the Bedrock model class today. And how are we going to invoke it? So the Bedrock model has a model ID. Here I'm going to use 3.7 Sonnet. Where do you get this model ID? You have to go to your AWS console and figure out what is a model you are invoke the access for, and it gives you the ID for it. Region is US East 1. We have something called temperature. We have something called tokens. We have something called top P. We have something called streaming and top stop sequences. So let's talk about this temperature and top P. It's going to help you define that how accurate your LLM should be answering. So if I set it to 0, it's going to be more creative. If I move towards 1, it's going to be very deterministic. So Simple as that. I'm not going to deep dive into LLM concepts today, but you can just go ahead and read about what is temperature and top P is about. And what is max token? So when I tell that, hey, I'm entering a prompt, right? So the prompt is going to be broken down into, the string is going to be broken down into tokens, and the charging works based on the token. So you have to be very, very, very careful about how much of information that you're sending to LLM and how much it is going to return. Okay, I'm enable something called streaming. So you might have seen in ChatGPT, or if you're using any other stuff, right? When you chat with it, it does not just fully throw the entire answer, right? It's going to give me the statements. It's going to stream me those responses, right? That's how the streaming works. So by default, I think the streaming is enabled. I have just enabled it for my convenience here. And the model stop sequence is that if the model encounters a word called exit, it's going to exit. So the stop sequences helps you to maintain the tokens in the right way. Okay. And now if you could see, the system prompt is what I'm going to directly send as like what is AWS, but the system prompt is not what, it's not going to be what is AWS. It's going to define the characteristics of what is an agent about. So don't mind about it. We have model, so we have already defined what is a model configuration here. I'm not going to use any tools. I just gave some name and description for it. Okay, so now let's see what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to this so I have defined the agents, but I have written a simple a main file which is going to actually invoke this agent, and then it's going to do it. So it's going to give me some interactive capabilities. So I just designed that. So I'm going to give Python uh, dot main.py, sorry, Python main.py. So if you could actually see, so you can type exit or quit to stop the agent, streaming is enabled, and so on. So now let's talk about what is the difference between S3 and DynamoDB. Let's just take something else. So DynamoDB and Aurora DB in AWS. Okay. So the agent is going to fetch. So internally, what really happens is that this is a prompt that you send to the agent, and then this agent has configured all this model and with this capabilities of this Bedrock model, and we have enabled the streaming for it, and we do not have any tools or something, and it's actually uses this prompt to answer it, and it gives me the answer for it. So it does like, okay, these are the two different database services in AWS, and what's the type, what is the scaling. It's excellent. It's similarly how you do it. So you can keep on chatting with the LLM over here and then agent over here, and it does the job for you. So let's just exit for this one. So do not worry. I was meant to actually upload all this code way before, but I'm going to add some more examples to it, and I'm going to make this whole repo live in next couple of days, so anyone can just download it and start using. Just ensure that you have the AWS access and the model access for that, and also be aware of the cost you're going to incur. All right. So now we just saw about two things. Now let's talk about the model capabilities. So there is a lot of other capabilities that the model comes with. I'm going to not run this model for now, but yeah. So something called guardrail. So if you go and attempt to prompt something inappropriate, it could be something of graphic nature, of violent nature, or something very not appropriate. So you got your, if you have done with ChatGPT, to say that, hey, I cannot answer this question, right? How does it really work behind is that we have something called guardrails. These guardrails actually help you to prevent some unwanted and harmful prompts to your LLM. Okay, so you can enhance the capabilities of your model with that. And if you could see, I just and here is where I have enabled this guardrail, and there is an offer. But for time purposes, let's just skip off that. And there is a lot of more capabilities that you can add to your model. One thing is called cache prompt mode, and one is called cache tools mode, and reasoning budget tokens. So let's just see about it. If you can see here, so we have added a couple of more capabilities of your model here is that cache prompt. So what does it really happen behind the scenes is that whenever you chat with your LLM, it going to cache the prompt as you keep on going so that it could reuse and it could help you to reduce the number of tokens here. Cache tools is that if it has already invoked a tool in the past, it's going to keep a memory of it and then it's going to help you to easily do that. And there is something called budget tokens. So you might seen something is that this LLM model is thinking and it gives you a big answer, right? When it needs to be a reasoning stuff. So you could limit how much of a reasoning that it needs to give. So I have enabled this thinking and I'm going to keep my reasoning budget tokens under 4096. Ensure that your reasoning is less than your max tokens for obvious reasons, because model can max give you this much of tokens, and if your reasoning is more than that, logically it doesn't make sense. And if you have enabled your reasoning capabilities, for sure by default your temperature and top should be p should be 1, because I've already told you that 0 represents more creative, more chances of hallucination, and 1 represents more deterministic answers you always see here. Since we need reasoning, we cannot be creative here. So by default, if you have enabled thinking, if you are enabled reasoning part, obviously the temperature and P should be 1. Okay, cool. So you can do all this, and then now we are going to again test the agent. So for time reasons, we may not see a significant bump in terms of how these responses are, but these capabilities do help you to do in a long time. So for time reasons, I'm going to skip this model capabilities because we might not really see a big of a impact in the responses that we're going to get here, but obviously it does make a change in the long run. So now, if you see here, today from the start of the session, it's been almost 30 minutes plus. And today we have learned a lot, right? So we have learned about what is an LLM. We have learned a lot as an agent. We understood, and we also understood how an LLM really works behind the scene. And then we learned what is an agent. We have been hearing the term agent for a long time in the past couple of months. But today we saw that, okay, hey, what is an agent, what it really does, and how it is really related to the model LLMs that we are speaking here about. Okay. So we learned about that, and we also saw how to create your first agent. Like, it's pretty simple. It's just 3 lines of code. And thanks to Strands Agent SDK, which helps you with it. And the next 2 examples that we saw here is that how to enhance the capabilities of your model that exists with the agent, right? So we have used Bedrock model, and we have enhanced the capabilities of models by caching the prompt, caching the tools, enable the streaming responses, and we have also enabled the thinking, which is your reasoning mode, right? So with that all being said, we are now really in a good shape to start adding the real powerful capabilities of an agent, which is the tools, right? So what is tools? We know that to perform some external data accesses, to perform anything that is outside our concern of the LLM, is where the agents really facilitate that. To bring that information, is where these tools are really helpful for. And now you might think, okay, so in the ticket booking agent is where I wanted to search for flight, which means I need to access flight APIs, right? Your Google Flights APIs are the really good ones. Then I have to compare those prices and everything. So first I need to really fetch the flight accesses. So to do that, I need to have some standard set of tools, right? So I need to define a tool that will go and make a HTTP request for me, right? So Strands Agents team saw that, okay, yeah, there are few capabilities of tools, which is what people are using it for multiple use cases in common. So the Strands Agents comes up with a set of, I think it should be more than 35 plus from what I have seen so far. A lot of capabilities, and it's going to solve you a lot of use cases by within. All right. So let's now see what are those tools that we are talking about. So going to Strands agents. And if you could see, this is the official website that you see here. Excellent examples if you want to go ahead and start learning even more. And then I'm going to tools. Yeah. So I'm going to take you to the GitHub actually. So let me get you the GitHub one. So if you see here, there is tons of tools that is already existing. So but let's just see about few of the tools. Sorry. So we have tools that is going to do file operations like reading, writing, editing, which can access your shell. Sorry. So how many of you have used an AI IDE? Okay, and that if you say that, hey, commit my code to Git, if you have given that as a prompt to your code, so it goes to actually run some shell commands, which is like git add space dot. It's going to add all the files to the staging. It's going to run git commit hyphen m, and it's going to write its own commit message, and it's going to run a git push origin main or whichever branch that you wanted it to push to. So to allow that agent to run some shell commands is what your shell integration is. There is already capabilities for that, and memory to store the the preferences or some memories that is associated with the conversation, so that you don't have to repeat it from scratch every single time. It can keep hold of the conversation that it goes. So already it has memory storage with mem0 and knowledge bases, Amazon Bedrock knowledge bases. It can go and do some web related purposes like go and do web searches. It can make http requests using this. You have Slack related stuff. You can execute Python. And one of the amazing and my favorite tools are called Use AWS, which is helps you to actually do some AWS work. So it's like if I enable this use AWS and I say that, hey, go and create this S3 bucket for me, it's going to really do it. So that's something pretty interesting, right? So imagine that you just give a LLM that your LLM cannot create an AWS S3 bucket for you. So this tool is what is going to make this. So when I say that, hey, go and create an S3 bucket named this. Okay, and how does it work? So LLM takes the query, it understands that, hey, I have an use AWS tool which I could leverage to do that, and then I have to some pass some parameters to it. So the user has told me to create a bucket name of this. So it's going to pass that information according to the structure that use AWS really want. So which is the service name is S3 and the bucket name is what? Let's say Vivek, and it's going to create that for me. So that is how intelligent LLMs are on how to use those tools. So you don't have to say that, hey, use this tool and give this parameter to it. You don't have to do that. LLM is smart enough to do it for you. So a lot of image, video processing, we have audio processing, we have advanced reasoning, we have MCPs. I'm not sure if I'm able to cover MCPs today, but maybe I'll just touch base what is an MCP today, but no guarantee of the demos. You have RSS feed and computer tools and so on. So if you want to quickly see what all the capabilities of it, we have file read, file write, editor, shell, HTTP request. We have a lot of Python execution, calculator, code interpreter, use AWS, one of my favorites. Retrieve is going to retrieve some memories from your Amazon Bedrock knowledge base. Asian core memory, let's not worry about what is that is about, at least for today's session. Then handoff to user, we have workflows, MCP client, and a lot of other things. All right. So with that being said, we know what is a tool right now, and the Strands gives us a lot of tools for you to work with, right? So now let's put that into action, because why not? So we are going to native tools, and let me just show you how this things is going to be. So as usual, I'm going to have a model. I'm having these and these capabilities of it. And then I'm having something called current time and calculator. So I have imported these tools from my Strands tools, and I have current time and calculator here. So it's going to use this. So before, I'm going to show you some little bit of a magic. Okay, I'm still in my, if you can see over here, I'm still in my old repo. I'm not running this native tools thing, but let's ask this LLM what is the time right now. Okay, what is the date and time? See, it is saying that I do not have the access to the date, current, and time. Whatever the date that you think is today. So it is saying that, hey, I do not know what is today's date, and I do not have capabilities to go and find today's date, right? Your model is aware of that. Now let's go and do something over here. So let's go to the, what is it right now? So it's 04, right? Yeah, I'm going to use some native tools of the strands, and then I'm going to run. Okay, let's just chat with it right now and say that, hey, what is the current date and time? Okay, so if you could see, it is using the tool number one, current time. All right, so I haven't specifically asked it to do it, but since it knows what tools it has and the capabilities of it, it is using it. So it's saying that it's September 5th, it's 2:46 p.m. in UTC time. Hey, I don't really understand UTC. I want that to be in IST. Okay, so hey, give me the time in IST. Okay, it's going to fetch the tool current time, and yeah, it's 8:17 p.m., which is correct right now. Okay, so it is smart enough to do that for you. So now let's say that, hey, now I'm going to put this calculator into action. So I'm going to say that what is 2 into 2. All right, so it's using the tool calculator and it's saying that 2 into 2 is 4. Let's make it work a bit. I'm going to say that what is it, 2 to the power of, I'm putting this in the, not as an equation, I'm just putting it as a text. So let's see how it really does the job for you. 2 to the power of 10. So what it does, again, if you notice, it uses a calculator. So it doesn't mean that only when I give an equation this calculator works. Your LLM is smart enough to take this text input, convert to an expression, and then pass it to the tool and use it for you and get the answer. So why I'm saying that it is smart enough to do it, let's go back and check. All right, let's go back and check calculator here. All right, let me find calculator. Yeah. See, your calculator actually takes only one input called expression. So what expression that we really give? We gave 2 to the power of 10, which is 2 double asterisk 10, right? So your LLM is smart enough to use this tool and then convert and get the right expression for you and then pass it to this calculator tool and then get the answer for you. Isn't it great? So that's what I say, that your agent has some purpose, and your LLM is your mind or your brain of it, and all your assistants or your is your tools that you had, and your brain exactly knows what to use, when to use, and how many times to use it, right? So that is what this is about. Now let's go back, and now we know we have lot of tools. I would suggest you to go ahead and use it and figure out how, what else you can build. Now let's assume that there is a lot of tools available, but if you see, I wanted to book an appointment myself, and this appointment is not something which is publicly available. Let's assume I'm going to book it for my company or something, right? So it needs to do something very specific for me, and that is not something I could use the leverage as native tools. So which means I need to define my own tool if this LLM wants to use it, right? So now let's figure it out how to do that. So I'm going to take a simple thing, which is like, it's going to this is like an appointment creator agent. Okay, let's just go and see here. So if I say this, you're a receptionist, your task is to create, manage appointments of the user, ask relevant questions to create the appointment, and ask for double confirmation before you delete any appointment. Okay. And we have given the tools, which is, these are two native tools, and I have created three custom tools. So let's see how to create custom tools here. So it's not fancy, it's again a Python function. So you just write a Python function on how you want it. So this create function has like date, title, and then it's just going to store this in under this appointments.json file. Okay. So when I say that, hey LLM, create me an appointment, it's going to invoke this tool. And how does your agent SDK knows that this is a tool? You have to use a tool decorator in Python. All right, so you have to use a decorator called add tool. And if you have read about what is Python decorators, you might have known it. But if you're not, don't worry about it. You can just use add tool in front of the function that going to be your tool for here. And then I'm going to use all these. All right, so it's going to just dump it or save it in the appointments with JSON file. Just for simplicity for today's experiment, it's going to list, it's going to update. All right, so now let's see what we are going to do here. So let's go ahead and write cd, which is your sorry, 05 custom tools. I'm going to chat with it. I'm going to ask, hey, who are you? Okay, now what is the really answer? Let's see here. See, it says that I'm a receptionist and I'm going to design to help you manage. So the behavior of the agent is set by the system prompt, which you could clearly see here. All right. So would you like to schedule a new appointment? Yeah, I would like to create a new appointment for me. And if you know, it needs to have a couple of details before it could create it. So it's asking me that I need to give the details. So when you like to schedule, I need to schedule it today. And location is right now I'm in Bangalore in India. And what is the title? Title is that we have ML summer school right now. And then what is the brief appointment is that I'm delivering a session. All right, on agents, right? So I'm creating an appointment, and let's see what it's going to do. It's asking me, I forgot the time, so it's asking me. So it's 8:30 p.m. at the moment, so I'm just going to give it, right? So it's going to create. So if you see, it using current time to fetch some information, and then it's going to use this create appointment. It has created all this information for me, and it's added. Let's see really if it did the job or not. Okay. So if you could see, it have really went and dumped it. So the ID, the date, and the Bangalore and stuff like that. Uh, delete the let's say I'm going to delete hands-on challenge. Okay. Okay, let me see what really happens here. Even I have no idea. So it's going to list. I need to verify whether what to delete. I found an appointment called Hands-On Challenge, which is scheduled on 18th August. Before I proceed deleting this appointment, need to confirm, are you really sure you want to delete? Do you know why it really happens? Because I have set the behavior of this agent that you have to double confirm before you delete an appointment, right? So that is how influential your sorry, that's how influential your system prompt is. It's going to mold the behavior of that. So I'm going to say yes, and it's going to delete it. Okay. I apologize, but it appears I do not have a specific function to delete the appointment. Exactly what we are going to talk about. So if you see, we have tools to create, list, and update. Okay. But then we do not have any tools to delete it, right? So it says that, hey, I do not have the capability to actually delete it. So that's, it knows when and what to, it doesn't, like it would have just went ahead and used update appointment, right? Because it sounds very similar, but it knows the tools and its capabilities before you could actually do it. So instead what I'm going to say is, hey, update it with today's date. Okay, now it needs to fetch today's date with current time, and it's going to update that. Okay, and it's calling the update appointment. And let's see what happens over here. So let me, so if you could see, it updated with September 5. Cool. Amazing, right? So now we know what is how these tools and stuff are really capable of. Now we are just going to end this session with an amazing demo, which is one of my personal projects which I built for AWS User Group Madurai. Is that we have been pushing some information about what is the latest updates that's been happening in AWS. And one good place for you to do it is, if you haven't really found this website yet, you have to really go over it, which is what's new AWS. Okay. So it gives you the latest updates about what's happening. And something interesting is, so you can actually subscribe your RSS feed, and it gives you a lot of information around it. Let's assume that today they have posted a lot of things, which is like Amazon EC2 announces AMI usage to better monitor the use of AMIs. Okay. So AMIs are called Amazon Machine Images. All right. Now let's I built an agent which is going to fetch these news digest and it's going to summarize for me. All right, let's jump back to the thing and let's see how simple the code is. Okay, so I set the system prompt whether you are in AWS News Digest, you have to fetch latest news from the RSS feed, and you're going to use the available tools called RSS feed and HTTP request, and then generate the summary, which includes the title, the URL, the author, and 2 to 3 lines about the content. So this is going to mold how my responses are going to be. So I've given two things. One is the RSS feed, one is a simple link. And I'm going to show you how your LLM is going to struggle about handling this link. Okay, but and I can see that we already have RSS feed. So it really knows that it needs to use RSS feed tool to fetch this information. Now let's go to this and which is your 06. See news digest, and then I'm going to run this code here. All right, get me top 3 new news of AWS. Okay, let's see what it does. So it's streaming responses. It is using the RSS and it's going to fetch from the AWS What's New feed, right? If you could see, it fetches the latest information that we just saw, which is that Amazon EC2 announces AMI usage, which means it properly invokes the tool and it fetches the right information. The second news is Amazon Neptune now supports public endpoints for simplified development access. And then you have system configuration now supports SAP HANA and everything, so which is great. I'm going to give a little bit of troublesome to LLM before we cut through today's session. So your heroes, if you see dev.to is where a lot of people blog, and then slash AWS heroes is where a lot of heroes publish their blogs and stuff. I just want to know if I could fetch some information, but is your LLM smart enough to understand that that is not an RSS feed, but there's a link? But you cannot really fetch a link, right? Because your dev tool is not giving any APIs for you to directly fetch that. But let's see if it's able to still fetch from scraping or doing whatsoever. Let's see. Give me top 3 blogs from AWS dev.to heroes. Okay, so it's fetching. It knows that it cannot do RSS feed here because it's not an RSS feed and it's using HTTP request. But let's see if it's really going to do. If you could see here, the dev.to page does not have a direct RSS feed. So it sort of tried using the tool, but it's not able to get it. It's going to try it with RSS feed, and then it's able to fetch some information for you. So astonishingly, that's correct. So what AWS developers, and it has a link to it. So let's just check, does it really exist or not? Hey man, it really exists, and it was posted just on September 4th. So, which is absolutely correct. And it has given me, see, the thing is, it has given me a summary of that blog as well, right? And then someone has written about the agent core runtime. But Vadman is an amazing hero, and we have met in the Hero Summit as well. So shout out to him. Glad we were able to meet him. He's from Ukraine. He has written a very nice blog around the agent core. I've been following his blogs for a long time. Kudos to his work as well. And we have Carlos as well, and his blog is about the first RAG system with agents and files. So it's a developer journey. It's amazing. I think it's a really cool one. So that's all you need to know. So let's exit from here, and I'm going to say bye-bye to the LLM here. So with that being said, let's see that we're going to park this MCP discussions to some other new day, because we have learned something really, really new. And I'm going to give you a spoiler here that if you could see a lot of my code that is being here, you could see that the code is being generated by something called Vivek Agent Studio. This is something I've been building for you guys. So for people who are very new to Strands Agents and do not want to get their hands dirty by writing every single code, but you want to leverage all the capabilities, so the Agent Studio is going to help you to configure, and you can download the entire Strands code, not just for single agents, but also for multi-agent, and you could deal with MCPs, agent core memory, and a lot of stuff which is going to go live in next week. So stay tuned for that as well, which is the platform which I've been building. That's a spoiler alert for today's session. So before we go ahead and conclude today's session, we were able to do a lot of stuff. So we were able to learn a lot of new things here. So which is we learned what is an LLM. We learned how does LLM really work behind the screen. Not very technical, but it really does answer a few questions for you. And then we learned what is a model and what is an agent. We learned what is the real capabilities of an agent, what it really does, and how it is associated with the LLM model that we are all talking about. And we understood the limitations and the advantages of an LLM, like what it really does, and then how this agent fixes one of the major limitations of LLM over here. And then now we were able to figure out how to enhance the case. So we were able to write our first agent with just 3 lines of code thanks to Strands Agent SDK. And not just that, with the SDK, we were able to enhance the capabilities of the model. We didn't do much about it. So we did about how to enable the tokens that we want, what is reasoning capabilities, how to cache the prompt, and much more. And we also enhanced and made your agent much more powerful by including your Strands tools. We had tons of tools. We saw how your LLM really uses its tools based on how you give the prompt, and then to deal with the scenarios where it doesn't fall under the native tools and you wanted to define your own use case, and how easy it is that Strands Agents helps you to create your own tools, and you can bring it over here. And we also saw the behavior of the agent based on the availability of the tools. And we saw an amazing use case to end the session, which is how to fetch your latest AWS news with the help of your agents here. So with that being said, whoever is have attended this session are going to view this video later. If you learned something, go ahead to LinkedIn and just write a short note about what you learned, and then tag me and Mithul. We'll be happy to see the feedback that we get over here. And why not? You can just use the Strands SDK to create your first code and see how it works. And let us know some amazing use cases that you can come up with. And that's it for today. And now I could for sure say that everyone who has been through the end of the session is now an agentic AI developer. And thanks to AWS and Strands Agent SDK for that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. It was a great session, to be honest. Okay, so as you mentioned, like the repository you are going to publish within a while, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So as well as the platform is going to go live next week. Yeah. So try it
Okay.
out.
Okay, so when that's going to be published, I will surely DM you over LinkedIn. Hey, can you please share the link?
Of
Okay,
course, for
then I
sure.
will just add it to the description of it. Okay,
Awesome.
so yeah, we can take questions if someone have any question, but let it be. If they have any questions, they will add it into the future in future as well. They can do that as well. There's no
Yeah.
problem. Okay, there was it's very interesting, obviously, right?
Mhm.
Especially talking about you built a project for Madurai, right?
Yeah.
So how to get the latest one, latest
Yes.
news feed from here and so on, right? So great. I believe using your repository, I'm going to do something for my
Oh,
community as well.
awesome.
So
That's really great, and that, I think that's the power of community as well. Awesome.
yes, obviously. Especially, there are so many projects going on, or there are so many blogs from AWS Heroes or from community builders and others. We can just take those and kind of take the summary of them and post it in our groups or community, right? It's going
Yeah.
to be very, very handful. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm going to
great.
enhance that digest to publish it to a specific WhatsApp group as well. So that's something I'm right now working on. So
Mhm.
probably I'll just release it as a platform, so you could just input your own WhatsApp channel, and then you could also stream those
Uh,
answers to it. So let's work on that little bit. Yeah.
Okay, okay. We'll be in. I believe we will be in. Get the update. We'll get the update. Okay. Thank you so much, Vivek. I believe we can just stay in the session. It was really awesome. You just
Thank you.
tried, but you have just explained every concept from scratch. So thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Okay. Hope to see you soon then. Bye.
Bye.